Hello everyone, welcome back to the How to Play the Division series for Steel Division 2, and today we're going over CIABG. Let's dive right in here to the most caustic Commonwealth Division we have, the new one from the most recent Nemesis DLC. So, what we have here is basically like First Pencherna 2.0, is honestly how I would categorize this division. Extremely spammy, a lot of really efficient tools, and a lot of just really strong tools on top of that. The division is very aggressive. You can get a ton of infantry. Despite being an armored division with only 7 slots of infantry, you can get 100 plus easily. Your infantry are technically horrible. They're like super low quality infantry, but a lot of them are only 15 points, which is extremely low for the cost of infantry in a general sense. Your recon tab is fine. It's got some good infantry recon and stuff and gives you some more Cromwells. Your tank tab is a phenomenal mix of super cheap, honestly too cheap, Cromwell tanks. You get Churchills with a lot of high armor and a couple Fireflies that can kind of keep your stuff alive against heavier armor like Panthers and things. Your support tab is phenomenal. You get, I think, 3 cards potentially of 2K HE stuff, which is nuts. MG42s, which is a nice upgrade. Then your AT tab, it's a solid Commonwealth AT tab. You get 17 pounders and 6 pounders, but you also get Panzerschrecks, which is much better than a Piat. So there's that. Your AA tab is absolutely phenomenal with a mix of Crusader AAs, Flak-Verlings, and 94 millimeters, which we'll check out later. Your RD tab is awesome with a whole bunch of heavy artillery you get to use along with 25 pounders. And your air tab, you get some really strong Commonwealth planes. So let's dive in here. I'm actually using Stan the Man's build of this division because he is kind of like a master expert of this division. I am most definitely not. So if you had to build it, I would definitely go with the way Stan builds it because he plays these divisions as a pro. I mean, he's one of the better players in the world, and he plays these divisions a lot. So hopping in here to the recon tab, you have these Hummers with the machine gun and the AT rifle. Honestly, this probably isn't bad, especially because you get 8 of them and they're only 10 points, but there are so many better options. It's hard to argue that you should be using this, but I mean, it's an interesting unit. In some other divisions, it might actually get played. You have the Daimler DV. It's not great because the shells don't have HE, so it really struggles to like keep down infantry and stuff. This is just a Piat scout squad, essentially. Nothing special. Wouldn't take it. There's better options. You have the Stuarts. So if you want some Stuarts, Stuarts aren't amazing. Their problem is they're really low rate of fire, but they're okay. I mean, again, it's nice to have more armor. What he's taking here is the FFO Fuse Marines, which are 6-man teams with a Panzerfaust, some solid CQC unit weaponry here. So just a good recon unit here. And then you have the Bojova Hilka. I'm sorry, I do my best. This is a very strong squad. 12 men, 4 Thompsons, MG34, and you get a Molotov. So it's like secret extra CQC, which this division desperately needs. One of its only weaknesses is a lack of CQC infantry. Like your junk infantry, you just have to hope you overwhelm things with the pure numbers of spam you're doing. But truth be told, they're not very good. You get this card of CQC and one other card of CQC. Hopping into the infantry tab, again, most of this is just garbage infantry, but you get so much. Look at the availability on these things. 12, 24, 36. Like that's the availability for most of this infantry. So you have the converted gunners, which are just a bunch of rifles and a couple submachine guns. The FFO Fusilier, which is a nice 10-man squad. I mean, this is honestly as good as a Grenadier squad because you also get an AT grenade, but it's only 15 points. Just because this should honestly, in my opinion, be 20, but it's not. So yeah, you get these. You can get 3 cards. I'm surprised you're only taking the 1. Your Motostrelsi leader here, it's just a leader. Nothing special. It's better than this one because it comes with radio, and you want radio for your big artillery. Then the best unit in the division, infantry-wise, then is Zenista. 4 Thompsons, 6 rifles, a flamethrower, and a Bren. Just a solid squad. It's not anything like phenomenally overperformer, but it is a strong unit. Converted RAF is a little bit of a upgrade on your other junk infantry because it's 15 man. You actually get a light machine gun if you compare these two. They're very similar, but the converted RAF come with disheartened, so not the worst thing. And Motostrelsi, you're only like real normal-ish infantry squad, but it's not a very good one. It's only 8 men. You get 2 Thompson, you get a Piat, and only 1 Bren. So these are not phenomenal. I almost say you just bring them in for the half track. So yeah, that's the infantry tab. Now you could like switch out, you know, say you want spam and C phase, you could easily take out probably either, you know, one of these two, the convert gun or the Fusilier, survive A phase with just less infantry and throw one of these at the end, and you'll get 36, which will bump your number from 66 to like 80 something. So if you want a C phase card of spam, you can certainly support that. Then here we have the tank tab, the highlight of the division, of course. So you have basically a mix of choices between Stuarts, Churchills, and Cromwells. You have one car of Fireflies that you should absolutely take. Here we have it in B, which is where I would suggest it be because you get 4 of them in B. 2 in A is kind of limited. It makes them really hard to deploy safely. So B is a good spot for them. And then you have Cromwell 5s, which are like your standard base Cromwell. Only 50 points, moves freaking 63 kilometers an hour, 90 millimeters of penetration on the gun, and 70 millimeters of armor on the front. Most things can pen and kill this. It's not that it can't, but it can also dish out enough damage itself. It has 2 machine guns, so it deals all right with infantry. Its H shell, E shell is standard as well. Then you have the Cromwell 7, and this is the highlight of this division in terms of Cromwells. Cromwell 7s come in with 120 millimeters of armor, making them a whole lot more difficult to kill. As in T-34, 76s, and Shermans are really not going to be able to kill this. Even your Panzer IVs and your Stug 3s are going to kind of struggle to get penetrations on this at max range. They're going to really actually kind of like work. They have to work to kill this thing. And it's only 65 points. Very, very strongly aggressively costed unit there. And then you have your mix of Churchills. Excuse me. Sorry why I said Churchills. You have Churchill 4s, which come with only 90 millimeters armor, but they now have they have AP and APCR shells on their guns. So this is actually good for killing enemy armor. It can actually do a pretty good job. It fires very fast at 12 rounds a minute. The problem with Churchills, of course, is they're dirt slow. Then you have the Churchill 6, which is basically using the same gun as the Cromwell with more armor. He's not taking any of them. It looks like Stan does not like these. And then finally, we have the Churchill 7, which I'm surprised he didn't take any, but the Churchill 7 is 150 millimeters of armor and uses the same gun as the Cromwell. So I personally would take these. They're very strong against certain divisions. They're absolutely, like, indestructible. Like, they're very, very hard to kill. They even have 95 millimeters of side armor. Like, they're just hard to deal with. But they are, of course, again, slower than dirt. So just be prepared for that. But this right here is the strength of this division, of course, is your Cromwell spam, a lot backed up with some heavily armored Churchills and Fireflies for emergencies. Hopping in the support tab, another really strong tab in this division because you get 3 cards of 2K HE stuff. It's just strong. I mean, one of these cards is a Cromwell 8, which is another super up armored tank. 120 millimeters versus the 70 on the normal. And then if you wanted to, you could also chase the Churchill 5, which is another of the same thing, just really slow. So you can get so many 2K HE vehicles, which is just one of those things that's like really obnoxious to deal with. Because like you can't really use AT guns against them because they'll wipe them out. So you're forced to bring in tanks, which then they counter with the 17 pounders in the anti-tank tab. It's just a very frustrating tab to deal with. And then they get MG42s. I thought they came in tractions. They must have taken that away, thank God. So MG42s are, of course, the best heavy machine gun in the game. You definitely want to be using these when possible. Over, like, say, the Vickers. You can see the difference in range and rate of fire and damage and everything else. Ammo, nothing special. Leaders, I mean, he's taking the Cromwell leader. You might as well, honestly, because it's armored and it doesn't cost that much more than the infantry one. Also, it can kind of, if you're careful, if you're super duper careful, you can follow around your tanks with this thing, your tank column. Because truthfully, you want to call in Cromwells in like groups of 2, at least, because they're only 50 points, so you can easily call in 2 on a single tick in most income phases. So you call them in, you get 2 Cromwells kind of thing, and you go from there. Continue on, AT tab. There's not much to look at here, but what is here is great. You Panzerschrecks instead of being forced to rely on Piats, so it's a serious upgrade over a lot of other Commonwealth divisions. And then you get 4 cards of 17 pounders. So if you want all 17 pounders, you can. And you can see here he's only taking 17 pounders. 6 pounders are fine. They're about half the cost. It's not an amazing AT gun, but for 45 points, it can get the job done. It's better than a lot of other 45 point. Like, it's better. I like it more than a ZIS 3 because I'm calling in an AT gun to kill tanks, right? ZIS 3 is good against infantry and stuff, but like truthfully, I call an Assist 3 more as a support gun than I do as an AT gun, because it's really not a good, it doesn't kill tanks very well. This does, though, because it fires very fast. It's got 12 rounds a minute, pretty high accuracy at 50%. The big issue is the 1,500 meter range. It's easy to stay outside of this thing and kill it from range. 17 pounder, of course, the classic, the classic Commonwealth, weapon of choice. He's bringing them in the Morrises, which means you get an 80 kilometer an hour super heavy AT gun. So that's really, really good transport wise too. Again, this division isn't missing much. This is a very strong division. 17 pounders, they're either phenomenal or they're terrible. Really kind of depends on your RNG. Sometimes these things never seem to find a hit, and then other times it's their laser beams and they never miss. Continuing on, anti-air tab, extremely strong. You see you have just a plethora of options. Things you should not take, the Polston. This is a waste. Do not take the Polston. It's a 20 mil, and 20 mils suck. The Tri-Polston is fine. It is good. This is a solid AA piece, but I mean, there are so many better options. I mean, take the Flak Verling instead. It just does better. And you can see here he's taking it because it just does better. It's more expensive. The Flak Verling will actually shoot stuff down. You have 40 mil Bofors. 40 mil Bofors are great. They're fine. Stan is a mobile player. He likes playing a lot of tanks and stuff, so he's taking the Crusader AAs. Crusader AAs are really solid. There's nothing wrong with these at all. They can really do some good work. By themselves, they can come up a little short. They often won't stop a plane from doing what it's planning to do, but it can absolutely shoot things out of the sky, and 2 of them will do quite a good job. Then you have a Flak 41 card if you want it. So obviously a stolen Axis weapon here. So that's quite strong. And then you get the real highlight here is the 94 millimeter. These things are disgusting. They do 9 damage, so a little short of one-shotting things, but still very strong. 190 millimeters of penetration at 2,000 meter range with 12 rounds a minute. This thing is nuts. This is a Rashida on super steroids. Super duper strong. And then they have the less technically. So this one is higher accuracy on its AP shell. Same AA, but higher accuracy on the AP shell. This one has lower accuracy on its AP shell. That's the difference. So if you're wondering why there's 2 with the same name, that's the difference. One is more AP, so you definitely take this one. To spend 5 more points so it kills tanks better. There's absolutely no reason to do that. There's no reason not to do that, excuse me. Continuing on, RD tab. I keep saying a strong tab because this division really doesn't have much weakness. You got your usual spotters, artillery leader, 81 mil mortars, the classic British 25 pounder, although here it's Czech, but it's, again, the same thing. And then you get this mix of really interesting artillery. You get this 182 millimeter gun, which when you vet it, it goes to 4 rounds a minute, which for a gun of this caliber is really quite good. He's bringing with ammo in both phases. Honestly, I'd probably bring C phase without ammo to lower the cost a bit, but maybe, no, you can bring it in without it. Cost only 130 points because you're playing Maverick here, so this is a little much for C phase. Then you have the 155, which is also really good because it just is. It fires 4 rounds a minute again. It's a pretty accurate gun, so really solid. And you have the Long Tom, which of course is a fantastic. It does not fire 8 rounds a minute before you're all like, "Wah!" It's not. It fires like all the others, 3 to 4. But yeah, it's another very good artillery piece. So you just get a whole mix. They're all very similar. These are the heaviest, so you might as well take these because they're the same price as the 155. And finally, the air tab. You get Typhoons, and Typhoons are pretty phenomenal. We only see them in 1 or 2 other divisions. The Typhoon AT is one of the only AT planes that, like, actually rocket planes that consistently can kill stuff in 1 shot. These are very strong, very good, very fast, medium resilience, really deadly for other planes. Like, do not hit on this thing. It will blow you right out of the sky with 4 20 mils. It does a ton of damage. Typhoon Bomber's great, but again, they're very expensive. It's not that you're not paying for it. And then he's bringing in the Spitfire Bomber, which it says it's a light bomb loadout, but it's not. It's 2 100-kilogram bombs. It kills most of the things it needs to kill in 1 shot. Mitchell's not great. They're too spread. It's the usual issue, but it is very good and it's very fast. So it's not a bad plane in any stretch. You could certainly argue switching out the Spitfire for this, but I would put it in B phase. But the Spitfire is probably just the better choice. So yeah, CIABG, a phenomenal division if you want to win lots of games and be hated by many people, because this division is just so annoying. But if you guys enjoyed that, hit that like button, subscribe, and consider supporting over on Patreon. Thanks a bunch, and have a fantastic day.